So welcome again, everybody. It's Monday. It's the Deer Park. It's the Buddha Center. It's good to see you all today. Let's get started like we normally do. Short period of bell meditation. So wherever you are behind your avatar, please get into a nice meditation posture. And as I ring the Ching bell, the idea, focus on the sound of the bell. Really get your deep listening going. Really get get your ears opened up, I guess. Might be a nice way to put it. So you can get that deep listening going, so you get that concentration going, so you can get that focus going today. Chances are you'll get distracted when it happens. Just gently remind yourself and go back to focusing on the sound of the bell. There'll be a short pause. I'll do the 3 recitations and then on with the talk for today. So give you a moment, get into a nice posture. We'll begin at the sound of the bell. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the teacher. I go for refuge to the Dharma, the teaching. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the taught. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. I have taken refuge in the Buddha. I have taken refuge in the Dharma. I have taken refuge in the Sangha. 3 pure precepts. Cease to do harm. Do only good. Do good for others. Bodhisattva vow. However innumerable all beings are, I vow to lead them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Swaha. Excuse me. All right. So you probably saw in the notice today, the title of this particular talk is "Don't Be an Ass," and I think you'll get it here in a moment. So we're going to start out talking a little about the Anguttara Nikaya. This is the fourth section of the Sutta Pitaka, or part of the three baskets and all that. And found in the Anguttara Nikaya are 11 books, or nipatas, that are arranged as numbered discourses. There's Book of Ones, Twos, Threes, Fours, etc. And they're numbered for how many lessons can be realized within each discourse. And like any sutta, one lesson or topic may be just as beautiful and apparent as the white lotus that the Buddha held forth at Vulture Mountain. And in the Book of Ones, that would kind of be the lesson, right? If that was in the Book of Ones, it would be that there is beauty in the Dharma, for example. And the Book of Twos might take the reader deeper into the silence of those thousands of disciples that were viewing that flower. And the Book of Threes might bring you even further to Mayas Kasyap's moment of enlightenment when he saw that white lotus. So each book of the Anguttara Nikaya requires the reader to engage in realizing deeper and deeper levels of Buddhist philosophy and practice. And there are also wonderful and entertaining similes and parables that can be found also in the Anguttara Nikaya. These are tales that can make our body minds think differently, and we can realize new ways of teaching or new ways of learning. And so this one today comes from the Book of Threes, and it's called the Gadrabha Sutta, or the donkey. So back to it. So we're going to talk about the Gadrabha Sutta, or the donkey, or like I like to call it, don't be an ass. So here's the sutta. Again, this is from the Book of Threes, and it says this. It is just as if a donkey were following right after a herd of cattle and saying, I too am a cow, I too am a cow. Its color, it's not that of a cow. Its voice, it's not that of a cow. Its hoof is not that of a cow. And yet it still keeps following right after the herd of cattle, saying, I too am a cow, I too am a cow. In the same way, there is the case where a certain person follows right after the community of disciples, saying, I too am a disciple, I too am a disciple. He doesn't have the other disciples' desire for undertaking the training in heightened virtue, doesn't have their desire for undertaking the training in heightened mind or concentration, doesn't have their desire for undertaking the training in heightened discernment, and yet he still keeps following right after the community of disciples, saying, I too am a disciple, I too am a disciple. So, you should train yourselves. Strong will be your desire for undertaking the training in heightened virtue. Strong will be your desire for undertaking the training in heightened mind. Strong will be your desire for undertaking the training in heightened discernment. That is how you should train yourselves. So like I said, these are short suttas. They have a lot of stuff in them. Again, this is the Gadrabha Sutta. Excuse me. So I'm going to use one example that some of you folks have heard many times before. That's a very apt example of what we're talking about here. So years ago, my nephew, he had recently signed up to be in the Air Force. And he approached me and he asked me a question. He said, Wayne, can you tell me something about Buddhism? Well, he had never shown any interest in Buddhism before. So I countered with my own question, which I like to do. And I said, why this sudden interest? And he says, well, you know, in basic training, they require all recruits to attend church on Sunday unless they are of a different faith, Jewish or Muslim, Buddhist, or whatever. And I plan to put down that I am a Buddhist so I can get out of going to church on Sundays. Just in case they ask me something about being a Buddhist, I figure I need to be able to answer. So I replied, sure. What is the question? And he got really confused, and he's looking at me for a second. He goes, well, I don't really know what question to ask. And I said, exactly. This is the donkey following the herd of cows. Well, he did go on to put Buddhism down on the blank line for his religious preference, and he has remained just as blank about Buddhism to this day as he was then. But what he did see was he saw ease and comfort in following the Buddhist herd, yet he had no intention or desire to actually be that which he was seeking out as camouflage. This is the donkey following the cows and saying, I too am a cow, I too am a cow. I'll give you another example, a little more Buddhist example maybe. I've encountered people, especially early on when I was first learning meditation and first learning about the path, and people would ask me about it, and I remember one particular person I mentioned about practicing meditation and about how difficult it was, and this is when we were starting out with this thing where you're supposed to imagine the light, and the light fills your eyes and all that jazz. And I happened to mention to this person that this is one of the practices that we were practicing, and how difficult it was to maintain concentration and all that. The very next day, that person came into the office and took me aside and said, you know what? I tried your meditation thing you were talking about last night, and I did it perfect the very first time. Everything you told me should happen, happened. And I kind of thought, well, that kind of made me feel weird, because I thought, wow, come on, I'm not progressing like that. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story there is, again, this was somebody that says, I too am a cow. Look at me. I too am a meditator. I didn't do much to do it, but I'm going to call myself that anyway. There are reasons that people want to follow the Buddhist herd, and there's a variety of reasons. For some, it just seems cool, or maybe avant-garde, right? Maybe a little exotic, and so they can be different from the people around them. Maybe they've read books and watched videos, and they believe that if they can have the proper appearance, right, if they can look like a Buddhist, and if they can have the appropriate look on their face, right, that calm, kind of a little bit of a smile look on their face, and if they can say the right words, like quote something from the Dhammapada, or, try to talk about, since emptiness was a subject earlier, we'll just use that as one of the examples. If they can do these things, if they can have the right appearance, the right look, the right words, then they can appear intellectual and spiritual. They can appear like a Buddhist. But then there are those that follow the Buddhist herd so they can learn how the herd acts. And they can begin to emulate them as part of the path to actually being a Buddhist. So the last group here, they have the intent to shed the donkey and become the cow. The herd teaches them through example, things like the appropriate moral and ethical characters that we're trying to develop, or the effort and the concentration that we put into our practice, and the mindfulness and the loving kindness that we're trying to develop, so we don't just look like the herd, and we don't just talk like the herd, but we actually are part of the herd. We act like the herd. We are the herd. We step off the path of delusion, and we find ourselves on the noble path. Thank you, Yuri. Appreciate that. So the very last part of this particular sutta says, strong will be your desire for undertaking the training in heightened virtue. Strong will be your desire for taking the training in heightened mind. Strong will be your desire for undertaking the training in heightened discernment. This is how you should train yourselves. you have to come to the truth within your own body-mind of what will be your desire. Or maybe if you want to think of a more appropriate word, maybe use the word goal. But desire is what was used here. But we're not talking about an unnatural desire. So you have to ask, will that goal be one of being viewed as an intellectual and or a spiritual human being and having that costume, if you will? Or is it going to be one of actually gaining knowledge of how you and the encompassing phenomena of the universe really are? And going on and developing a transformative, positive character from that. This is a choice, right? I talk about make better choices. So here's your choice. You can appear as a Buddhist or you can be a Buddhist. That's a choice. Choosing the latter path is the noble path. You'll undertake the training of appropriate speech and action and livelihood, and these are the things that lead us to a virtuous character. And with that, the desire to be a better human being will heighten. You'll undertake the training of appropriate view and intent, and that will lead to a mind able to see the emptiness of delusion from the forms of the Dharma. And then act with the intent needed in each moment, and the desire to be a better human being will heighten. You'll undertake the training that will lead to a disciplined body-mind, one able to discern the appropriate effort, mindfulness, and concentration needed on the noble path. And the desire to be a better human being will heighten. That's how you should train yourself. A full path. View, intent, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. It will not be the type of desire that blinds the body-mind to the realities of a universe of conditioned arisings and falling away. It will be a desire that will lead to a deep understanding of the Dharma and how your thoughts and actions can make you an agent of positive transformation, no matter the obstacles, no matter the closed doors that the causal universe is likely to put in your way. Obstacles will become possibilities, and doors will offer the opportunities to learn the key, apply it, and open those doors to new potentials. It's the choice between appearing and being. At least with being, you'll cease to be the donkey mimicking the cows. You won't be that person walking behind saying, I too am a Buddhist. I too am a Buddhist. You'll be a Buddhist.